The planet designation was G7, but the galactic community called it the Graveyard. 17 different species had attempted colonization over the past millennium. All had failed. Some retreated within months, their equipment malfunctioning, their colonists driven mad by inexplicable phenomena. Others simply vanished, leaving behind empty settlements and unanswered questions. Captain Mara Holt stood at the viewport of the landing shuttle, watching She-7's purple-tinged atmosphere swirl below. Behind her, the crew made final preparations for descent. She could feel their nervousness. It radiated through the cramped cabin like static electricity. "Captain," her second officer called out, "we're receiving another warning from the Quillian monitoring station. They're advising us to abort." Mara didn't turn around. "Noted. Proceed with landing sequence." The Quillians had been the last to try colonizing G7 only 30 years ago. They'd lasted 6 weeks before evacuating in a panic, claiming the planet itself was alive and hostile. The Draviks before them reported similar experiences: technology failures, psychological breakdowns, and an overwhelming sense of being watched by something vast and incomprehensible. But humans were different. They had to be. Earth's overpopulation crisis demanded new worlds, and She-7's resources were too valuable to ignore. Dense forests of crystal-like vegetation, mineral deposits worth fortunes, and an atmosphere remarkably similar to Earth's. It was perfect except for the small detail that it apparently drove everyone insane. The shuttle touched down on a rocky plateau overlooking a valley of those strange crystal trees. They shimmered in the dual sunlight, casting rainbow refractions across the landscape, beautiful and unsettling in equal measure. Tarek Solon was the first down the ramp, his engineer's eye already cataloging everything. He was young for such an important mission, barely 30, but his specialty in adaptive technology systems made him invaluable. While others unpacked equipment, Tarek knelt beside one of the abandoned Quillian structures, a dome half consumed by crystalline growth. He ran his scanner over the surface and frowned. The readings made no sense. The crystal wasn't just growing on the structure, it was interfacing with it, attempting to interpret the technology like a child trying to read in an unknown language. "Captain Holt," he called out, "you need to see this." Mara approached, her boots crunching on the purple-gray soil. Tarek showed her the scanner display. "The previous colonists weren't driven off by hostility," he explained, excitement creeping into his voice. "This planet, it's trying to communicate. These crystals, the whole ecosystem, it's a massive neural network. When the other species brought their technology, the planet tried to interface with it. But the communication protocols were incompatible. It created feedback loops that manifested as equipment failures and psychological disturbances." Mara studied the readings, her tactical mind already working through implications. "You're saying the planet is sentient?" "Not exactly. More like a distributed intelligence without centralized consciousness. Think of it as a planetary-scale quantum computer running on biological processes." Tarek stood, gesturing at the crystal forest around them. "Every species that came here tried to impose their technology on the environment. But humans, we're adaptable. We're good at finding common ground." Over the following weeks, Tarek worked obsessively, developing interface protocols. He discovered that She-7's network operated on principles eerily similar to human neural patterns, probably why the psychological effects had been so pronounced for other species. Their brain structures were too different, creating cognitive dissonance. But human brains? They could almost sync with the planetary network. The breakthrough came on day 43. Tarek created a modified neural interface that allowed limited two-way communication with Sci-7's ecosystem. When he activated it, he gasped as information flooded his consciousness. Not words or images, but pure understanding. Sci-7 wasn't trying to drive colonists away. It was trying to know them, to incorporate them into itself. The other species had fled in terror from this merging of consciousness, interpreting it as an invasion. But Tarek saw the potential for something unprecedented, true symbiosis between humanity and a living world. "Captain," he said, emerging from his lab with wild eyes and a brilliant smile, "I know how we can make this work." Mara listened as Tarek explained his proposal. They wouldn't conquer She-7 or simply colonize it. They would partner with it. The settlers would wear neural interfaces that allowed them to communicate with the planetary network, sharing knowledge while maintaining their individual identities. In return, G7 would welcome them, optimize the environment for human habitation, and defend against threats. It was audacious, dangerous, and possibly humanity's greatest opportunity. Do it, Mara decided. The transformation was gradual but spectacular. As settlers began wearing the interfaces, G7 responded with enthusiasm. Crystal formations began growing in useful patterns. Natural shelters, water collection systems, even rudimentary power generators. The planet was learning from human thoughts, adapting itself to human needs. More remarkably, humans began understanding G7. They could sense storm systems forming days in advance, locate mineral deposits through intuition, and navigate the wilderness as if they'd lived there for generations. The bond deepened with each passing week. When the Quillian monitoring station sent an envoy to investigate, they found a thriving colony of 2,000 humans living in harmony, with a planet that had destroyed 17 previous attempts at settlement. The Quillians were baffled, then frightened, then awed. Captain Mara Holt stood before the alien delegation, Tarek at her side, and explained what had happened. Every other species saw G7 as something to overcome, to dominate, to flee from. We saw it as something to understand. That's the human difference. We've spent our entire history learning to coexist with things we don't fully comprehend. News of humanity's success on G7 spread through the galactic community like wildfire. The unconquerable planet had been conquered, not through force or superior technology, but through humanity's peculiar gift for adaptation and cooperation. Standing on that purple-gray soil, linked to a living world through technology and consciousness, Mara Holt smiled. Humanity had always been good at thriving in impossible places. They'd just proven they could do it on a cosmic scale. G7 had tested 17 species and found them wanting, but in humanity, the planet had finally found partners worthy of its ancient, vast intelligence. Together they would show the galaxy what true colonization looked like, not conquest but communion.